Hey everybody, it's Keon. We're back again with All in Context. I am excited to be doing this again. This is show two, so I'm two for two in doing this thing, and so we're just gonna keep it going. I thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed the last one. If you didn't watch the last one, go check that out. It was a good conversation about talking race with your children. So we had a great time. And this time we're talking about homeschooling, right? So this would be right around the time that you, as a parent, would be starting to realize that summer break is almost over, and you would be planning for things and planning for your kids to go back to school. But there's so much uncertainty about what school is going to look like, and so many parents are considering or have made the decision to keep the kids home and figure out what that looks like. And there are a whole bunch of options at this point, and so we've decided to do it as a family, and we have no clue exactly what we're doing even now. And so I was like, why don't I bring on some friends who would be able to help offer some advice about what they're doing. So that's what we're going to be doing. A couple rules of the show. Please engage, right? So this is fun when you're engaging with us. Be gracious to people. People don't always agree with you, and that's just the way life is, and so we deal with it. Share with friends. So if you're on this post, please share with others. And finally, I think since I'm a person that makes sometimes I don't always get it right, I am entitled to change my mind at any point, and that should be okay, especially if I change it to the point in which you agree. So don't bash me or anybody else about what I believed 3 minutes ago if I say I don't believe that anymore. So all that being said, roll the intro. I don't have an intro yet, but one day I'm gonna say that, and there's gonna be something that plays, and it's gonna be awesome and just spectacular. But until that day, I'm just gonna pretend like I have it. So I will let you guys know who we have on. So I'm gonna bring them up on the screen. So these are some good friends of mine, Ebony, Stacey, and Sarah. Wave at the people, all whoever's watching. And so. Ebony, just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Ebony Banks. Let's see. I live in Camden, New Jersey, which is very close to Philadelphia. And I'm a mom of 5 kids, ages 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We're all odd numbers this year. And I'm married to Chuck for almost, will be 14 years next month. And yeah, happy to be here with y'all.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. I remember when you and Chuck said y'all were married. And I was like, wait, what? Because this was like
Yep.
junior year.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we and so I remember thinking, I mean, they're both great people. Um, I mean, if anybody can make it work, it would be them. I just think I definitely know in that moment in time I was not in the mind frame of thinking like marriage, even though I think Ashley and I were dating at the time and I'm married to her, but my brain wasn't just how it's functioning. So thanks for joining us. You're awesome. Y'all are awesome. We'll get into it more. Stacey, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello. My name is Stacey Hammond, and I have 4 children, ages 4, 6, 8, and 10. We've been homeschooling for 4 years now. My kids were going to a hybrid homeschool, so they would go to school every other day. But this year, we're going to homeschool full time. I'm married to Nate Hammond, and we've been married for 14 years as well. And we've known Ebony and Chuck the whole time. so, um, and I'm just glad to be here to help anybody who needs it.
Awesome. And Sarah Beth. Sarah.
Right. All of the above. I answered these. I'm Sarah Sandel. I've been married to Cam for almost 13 years. We have 2 kids, ages 3 and 8. And we're going into our second year of homeschooling our 8-year-old. And I also do some writing and social media management in just, in partnership with having the kids and keeping them, educated.
Awesome. Educating the kids is
Yeah.
what we strive for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal.
I
Um,
mean, it's the goal.
let's go. Listen, if they listen in this point, people are like, "How are you all doing as a family?" Right? Because that's the common question nowadays. And I'm always like, listen, we love each other. I think the kids don't hate me. I think my wife doesn't hate me. So I think we're winning. I think we are winning in this game of life. So yeah. So we're here talking about homeschooling. To be honest, one of my little I try to be fancy with these. Y'all see these little headphones? They're supposed to be like out of the way so you can't see them, but like I'm messing with them and it's all crazy. But anyway, to be fair and to be honest about homeschooling, my first experience of like recognizing homeschooling was when I would watch the spelling bee at home when I was a kid, and I was like, out of those kids are a little unique, and if that's what homeschooling produces, I'm not sure if that's for me, and so for the pretty much, you know, until mid 20s, I was like, I don't know about homeschooling until I met friends who were themselves homeschooled, and I remember thinking, oh, like you're a person who can engage in a conversation, and you're normal, whatever that is, right? Um, and so I really was like, okay, this is kind of cool, and I found out about co-op programs where people would get together with other parents who were homeschooling. So my eyes kind of open wide, and really we kind of considered homeschooling, but not for real. For real, it was like, oh, maybe one day we'll homeschool. Yeah, no, we'll just send them to school. But COVID-19 hit, and I'm in Florida, and listen, when we Florida, we do it big, okay? Listen, we said we not gonna let New York overtake us as the epicenter of COVID-19. You not gonna beat us like that. So we have decided that we not wearing masks, and we gonna do this thing. And so because of that, we have decided, well, we're gonna keep our kids home, and that's our journey to homeschooling. Now, you guys made the decision before COVID-19. So starting with Ebony, walk me through like how you chose homeschooling. Have you been doing it the whole time? Did you start out one place and end up another? So walk us through that.
Yeah, so my oldest is now 9. He'll be a rising fourth grader, which is crazy this year. And when he was 4, he was quite the rambunctious child, my CJ, and just very energetic. Had to touch everything. He wasn't that kid who could sit down crisscross applesauce. And so I remember we were in Japan at the time. I put him in a little preschool program, 3 days out of the week. And I'm telling, it was a pain to leave him there because he didn't want to be there. And then almost every time I went to go pick him up, CJ had gotten into some kind of mischief. And so long story short, one time we were at church and he was in the back in the kids' room, and basically people had already started to try to label him as like, oh, you should probably get him checked out, like maybe he has ADHD. And that was kind of the genesis for me to like, I remember like being in tears about like my child, something being wrong with him or how people perceive him. And I was always trying to like make him behave, like to impress people and to make sure he was under control, that I wasn't that mom who didn't have a good hand on her kids. And so I think it kind of started with that, because honestly, if he had gone to traditional school, I really think they would have like put him on ADHD medicine. What, Ritalin, yes.
Adderall?
Ritalin. Whatever they give the children these days. But and so it was that was kind of the initiative, like what initiated it. And then even just thinking about, hey, I have this wonderful opportunity, which I have to preface, was an absolute privilege to be able to do so, because we kind of structured being a military spouse, and moving from place to place every so often. I didn't have a job. I didn't have to have a job. And basically, we structured our household where my husband was the primary breadwinner.
Right.
And so I know that is a privilege for a lot of people, but it was, basically, what was I talking about? Basically, getting back to being a military spouse and being able to stay at home was always, I always wanted to invest in my children and have that special time with them. That I was just like, they'd be away for 40 hours plus a week. And as much as some days I wanted to put them on the school bus and send them on their merry way, I knew at the end of the day, this was what was right for us. So.
Cool. I like that. Sarah, what about you?
I had always wanted to homeschool. I grew up in a small, mostly rural community, and there were a lot of homeschooling families in our area. I was only homeschooled 1 year, but really enjoyed it, really thrived. I did my eighth grade year, so like transitioning from middle to high school. I think I probably would have kept going, but that wasn't the best choice for our family at that point. So when we had kids, I thought, oh, this is what I would really like to do. But we were also, when our daughter was 4, we were moving and there was some transition going on. So we put her in VPK initially. That's where we met Keon, because Cora and Ashton were in the same class. Or, well, they were across the hall, but they were at the same school together. And I felt like, okay, maybe this is going to be some like more foundational things that I can build on. I taught for a few years before Cam and I got married, and so I felt able to teach, but I was feeling pretty overwhelmed with some of the life transitions that were happening. And that year we adopted my son, and so it was good to have had that option. It bought our family some space. But when we relocated again, my husband and I began to consider, okay, what's going to be a good fit. So we ended up doing like a transition to kindergarten with her, and I kept her home for that and did sort of a homeschool transition kinder, and then we did private school for kindergarten. And then now we're back homeschooling. So we homeschooled last year and we're going into it this year as well. Part of our experience was watching, she's very social, loves being around people, really thrives in her social life when she's in a classroom. And it was really good for her to experience some of the structure and authority of being in a classroom setting. But ultimately, I saw that her strengths were not being championed in a way that I felt like I was about to be ready to be able to do that for her. And so when we got to the end of her kindergarten year, I said, okay, this is my husband and I sat down. I said, this is where I've seen her grow, but I think we can provide something stronger for her at home, and I want to give it a try. I feel like I have the space, like mental space available to pour into her in that way. And I joke that researching is my love language. Like I can Google. I just
Your
love
husband
researching.
was
Like I
telling
love
us about that
Googling,
last
looking.
time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
you're
thanks
you're
for
the
that, Kim.
expert. Yeah.
I love finding out information, but homeschooling information, it's like trying to take a sip of water from a fire hydrant, right? So like setting off to learn about what we could use and how we could meet her needs without feeling like there are 70,000 different options for me. What do I do? So it took, I think, part of my part of the mother journey, I guess, was going, okay, I can pick something and I can do it. I don't have to know everything there is to know about every homeschooling philosophy and talk to every person who uses every different methodology. I can, use this information that I have now. Let's pick something, let's dive in and see how our kid does. And I mean, some days my daughter might say otherwise, but I think it's been a really good experience for our family. The flexibility that it allows us, and the fun that we have when we get to jump into what she's interested in and kind of pursue that for a little bit has been a really great thing for us.
Cool. Stacey, what about you?
Well, I guess when we lived in Georgia and we moved to Ohio and then we moved back. We were on the south side of Atlanta, and we had the two kids that were in school going to private school. And then we built a house and moved to the north side of Atlanta, where tuition for one kid was twice what it was for two kids on the south side in private school. And everywhere I went, like the cheapest we could find tuition for our kids was $1,000 per kid a month. And with me not working, that was not like about to fork up $4,000 a year.
Ooh, good Lord, that's a lot of money.
Not a year, a month, yeah. So like we knew we wanted to give them a Christian background and we wanted them in private school, but that like I wasn't going back to work just to pay for tuition. So we found this hybrid homeschool because I thought about homeschool by myself and I was overwhelmed. I thought there's no way I can do this. So we found a hybrid and it ended up being a really good fit. So Maddie was in first grade. And then when she got to second grade, her brother joined her. And so now we had 3 in there last year. But partnering with our teachers was really, really helpful. They helped me stay on track. Some days were stressful. So they went to school on Monday and Wednesday, and they were home on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Tuesdays were crunch days because we had to get all the schoolwork done because it had to be turned in on Wednesday. But Thursday and Friday, we were really flexible, and we were able to spread it out if we didn't get everything done, and then we could do it on Saturday and Sunday. And I think all of us are looking forward to having that kind of flexibility through the whole week, not just the last 2 days. I think it's probably going to be challenging because now I have all 4 every day, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But like Sarah said, if we'll dive in, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, we have the option to switch. We love the curriculum that our school was currently using, so we're going to stick with that. They have so many online resources and teacher-guided courses and everything, so I think it's going to be a good fit for us.
Cool. So, like, you guys have both, or all 3 of y'all, I think, at some point alluded to, like, the curriculum. And for me, like, that's where I'm like, I don't even know, like, where to begin. Like, do you just go online and Google homeschooling curriculum and look at all the web pages and figure, like, what do you do? How do you figure that out? Jump in, feel free, anybody.
Yeah, I know for me, it's word of mouth. So up here in the Northeast, there's a quite a few people. It's a large community of homeschoolers, and there's Facebook pages and Facebook groups where people are having these discussions. So you really kind of have to research because there's so many curriculums. It's people's businesses, so they want you to buy all of the curriculums, and you'll spend so much money and end up being just completely overwhelmed, not knowing what to use. And so for me, I really, number one, here's a great resource. It's called Kathy Duffy Reviews. Okay. I don't know if any of the other moms have come across Kathy Duffy, but she actually she has like a top 100 like best homeschool curriculums, and it spans all different subjects. But you can go in there and see how she gives a detailed review on many curriculums. So if you come across something, you can go in there and see what she says about it. So I use that kind of as a reference. And then for me, it really has to come down to basics. Sometimes we do, if I can cover, get a reading curriculum or something, writing. And really writing, I mean, for my kids, again, my oldest was in 3rd grade last year, but we're doing a lot of copy work because I'm focusing on penmanship. And so if I can cover reading, writing, and math, arithmetic, that's a good day. So I make sure I have good curriculums for that. And then we also belong to a co-op community. It's called Classical Conversations. We meet in person 1 day a week. And so we get some other aspects in terms of history, geography, science, fine arts, some of the other supplemental subjects we cover there.
So you gotta like do them individually. Like you gotta pick a reading one, and then pick a different.
the way our homeschool is set up, yes. So number one, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I just gotta let you know. There's no right or
There's gotta be a wrong way. Listen,
well,
there's gotta be a wrong way to
wrong
do
way would be
it.
if you just wake up and like stay in your pajamas all day and like just watch TV all day. Like if your kid's really not actually doing anything.
Right.
I would qualify that as maybe, yeah, you might need to look at some
Rethink.
other options. Yeah, rethink this homeschool
Right.
thing. But like, for instance, I know Stacy uses their hybrid school uses the BJU Press curriculum. I'm gonna let her talk more about it. But you have some curriculums that are kind of like a school in a box. So you have they'll send you a box for whatever grade your child is in, and you have all of your subjects there. For me, I try to make it as least costly as possible.
Yep, I'm all about that. That's my love language is cheap and frugal.
Yeah. So for me, I didn't need a separate history curriculum. I didn't need a separate science curriculum. I didn't need these extra things. And so it really just depends on first off, you got to figure out like what's your philosophy. There's so many different philosophies for homeschooling. I'll let some other moms talk. We can follow up on that later.
What's up? Got a guest on the show? Come on now.
That's exciting.
So tell me about your homeschooling experiences, young man.
Have you had fun doing homeschool? Yeah.
Dang, that wasn't convincing. sound like you've been working with him on that one.
Confused because on my phone it's at one part and then there's a huge delay between the computers.
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, wait, what's going on? I love it. So, Sarah, I'll go to you and we'll come back to Stacey. How did you pick curriculum? What was important? Do you have a matrix that you go through and say, here are some requirements and I'm gonna rank them based off of like this scorecard? Like, how do you pick?
One of the things that was important to me initially when we started last year was I kind of wanted to be able to open it and go. I didn't want to have to feel like I was collecting 16 different items and books and resources. I wanted something that was like, here, and this is what you say, because I needed that foundation. We were just starting out, and Cora had just come out of a classroom experience, so I didn't want to pick something that looked so far different from that it would be confusing or frustrating to her. So I needed something that resembled school for her experience. But I am a little more eclectic because Cam will say, she wants to know what I think, and then when I tell her what I think, she goes, "Okay, thanks," and then does something different.
It's good to know.
So I wanted something that was going to tell me what to do, but also give me a little space to, I don't know, like massage it into something that fit for us. So we picked a curriculum for language arts and math, and then I kind of built our own Bible instruction that we've just pulled pieces together that we love. And we read a ton out loud. Like, we just collect living books, which is the idea of saying almost history biographies or historical fiction that are gonna almost sneakily, that's not a word, I swear I'm an instructor, but they're teaching our kids as they hear the stories because of the context in which they're taking place. So I kind of rely on our library for most of our history and like social studies right now, because we just do a lot of reading to supplement those. And then we decided when we would notice when we were sort of getting tired of the rhythm or getting frustrated with each other, it might be time to pop in like a unit study on frogs, because there were frogs living in our wreath on the front door, and that was interesting. And so we would put language arts and math in the basket for a week, and we would play with frogs and see what we could learn, and watch the videos on National Geographic about how they catch flies. And so I tend to sort of refer to our style as more eclectic, but in terms of philosophy, that leans probably more Charlotte Mason-y. She was an instructor in the 1800s who talked about children being whole persons, and how they connect with information and change as they engage it in strong literature. I have an English degree, so that really appealed to me. I thought, okay, I access information that way too, and it helps me gauge um, reading comprehension because my kid's having to listen to me read constantly, and when she narrates back to me what she's heard, I'm gauging how she's comprehended it, and then I make a note that we read this chapter book and she understood it. Like, I didn't have a syllabus for that part, I didn't have a checklist for that particular history lesson, but I know that she engaged with the story in that way. um, and so, yeah, end of statement.
Great. Love that period. It was an awesome period.
Yep, it was very abrupt. Yep.
Stacey, what about you?
Um, what are we talking about? We're talking about
Like,
curriculum.
yeah,
Okay.
how'd you pick the
So
curriculum?
I am like following my school's guide, but like so our school used to use Rebecca, and I really really liked the curriculum. Um, I am an engineer by schooling, and I love math and science. I cannot stand writing or reading, but I do it if I have to. Um, so the math part of Rebecca moves really really fast. And if you're not a math person, it can be really challenging. And I think that for our school, it was challenging for a lot of students. And that's last year they decided to make the change to BJU. With BJU, they teach basically the way that we learned how to do math, and they teach a little bit of the Common Core. And we had great teachers that said whatever way your child can get the answer, then do it that way, and they didn't care. So that worked well for us. That program has worked well for us. So that's how I decided that we were just gonna stick with it. Um, we are buying the whole. This is second grade. This is third grade. This we're buying the packet. They actually have a sale going on right now, so we're getting everything for half price. And I just want to
Yes,
tell
let's go, baby.
buy all the curriculum.
Cool. And so, like, for us, and I feel like maybe you guys, and maybe I identify maybe with the person who's considering going into homeschooling now, is this all feels very sudden, right?
Mhm.
Decisions are being made like now to be implemented in 4 weeks, or actually sometimes you don't even know, you don't have a decision made yet. And so Ashley and I are having a conversation. So, like, I mean, what curriculum do we use? Luckily, in Florida, Florida has something called Florida Virtual School,
Mhm.
and then Orange County, the county I live in, has Orange County Virtual School, which is, I think, it's really all about money, because you use the Florida Virtual School curriculum, but you're enrolled in Orange County Virtual School, and so I think funds, because again, school districts get awarded funds from the state based on enrollment and all of that. And so I think it's a way for Orange County to not lose some of their funding because people decide to do virtual school. And so
Mhm.
that's really one of the things that we're considering. I don't. We literally at 6 p.m. Eastern, right before this, I was on a WebEx or something webinar that was about, like, hey, here's how virtual school works. And they were like, hey, here's how you decide whether your kid will be successful in virtual school, and all these other things. And so it was helpful. I don't I feel like we still don't know what we're doing, but listen,
You're
we'll figure it
welcome.
out. Somebody, one of y'all were talking to Ashley and said you gotta, like, you should probably ease into it. um
Might
that's
have been me.
okay, you. So y- you
Yeah,
okay.
where am I now?
Right. So, like, what do you mean by ease into it? Like, what does that look like, for somebody
Um,
who is, again, come out of a standard classroom and now moving to being at home? What does that look like?
One of the word pictures that I used when we started was, how you have to, like, is when you rub your stomach and pat your head, you often have to start one before you do the other.
Yeah.
And so easing into it could mean, all right, we know our kids really love numbers. Let's find a strong math curriculum that they could feel excited about, and let's start with math. And once we find the rhythm that's working for us, maybe I'll start reading aloud to them over the breakfast table.
Mhm.
And once we work that rhythm, just kind of building on what you're experiencing. And because so much of it for me, and I'm only really homeschooling one kid at this point, so I really can't speak to all of the children that y'all have been blessed with, because I've got one at the kitchen table and I've got one running around with his trucks in the background. Um, but there's a lot of like, all right, we're gonna do this thing. Okay, let's recalculate. We're gonna do this thing. Like, let's recalculate. We're gonna do this thing, because it's sort of assessing how is my kid responding to this? Are we feeling, even if we don't like everything that we have to do as learners, are we still feeling excited about learning together? If we're not feeling excited about learning together, we might need to pause, and talk with one another and see, I don't know, like what's not working, what's frustrating. That's been another great thing for us, is getting to invite my daughter's feedback. She doesn't get to call the shots. I'm the boss of this school, but getting her response when we've been, trying something new or changing something up. Um, at the end of last year, I was asking her some questions because we'd had a very frustrating week with one of our lessons, and she said to me, "I think part of the problem, Mom, is that our brains just work different, and I don't think about it the way that you do." And I thought, man, like, I think you're right. Okay, like, God help me to think about this the way that my kid thinks about it, so that I can help them keep loving learning, whatever that looks like for them.
That's cool. I think between the four of us on here, we have, let's see, 4 + 5, that's 9, +2 is 11, plus my 4 is, so there's 15 kids. Lord Jesus. Right. Listen, if we just all paid ourselves per kid, we'd be doing well. So one of the things that I think about is how do you structure your day, especially for those who are doing it with multiple kids, so that everybody's educational needs are met. Because I could just imagine it'll be chaos at my house. So that's honest.
Pretty much what happens.
Okay. Okay.
We keeping it real, right?
Right.
Like, it's a lot. It's a whole lot.
I'm very much a type A personality. Like, I need structure. I need this to go. So last year, this is my first year with 3 of them doing this hybrid homeschool. I was like, okay, we're gonna start. We'll do some form of circle time and go over the weather and the time and the date and all of this stuff, and then I'll work on math with Nico. And when I finish with him, then I'll work with Kyle. And when I finish with Kyle, then I'll work with Maddie. Avery's at preschool, so we're okay. One of them, I start him on his worksheet, and then he sees a bunny in the backyard, and he just gets up and walks away. And then my
squirrel.
And I'm like, trying to teach Maddie how to do long division. Like, please go read a book. Yeah, it's tough.
So are you saying there's a certain, so if you're working with Maddie at this point on math, Nico does he have his own center or area or are you just like, listen, go?
So because we were at this hybrid homeschool, we had worksheets we had to turn in. So he would have his worksheets. I would go over his little lesson, and I would give him his worksheet and say, okay, buddy, I need you to work on this, do the front and the back. And then Kyle is very competitive and very fast at everything. So by the time I was finished explaining to Nicholas, he's like, Mommy, I read the instructions. I'm already done with this. And I'm like, but there's more to it than just this worksheet. So we have to go over it. And then Maddie, at 4th grade, she was really self-sufficient on a lot of stuff. But I still needed to review it and go over it with her and make sure she really understood. So it was that didn't work. We had to figure out a new plan. And I'm glad, like, for this year, with us not being at the hybrid, there's not as much pressure that we have to get everything done today so we can turn it in tomorrow.
Right.
So my plan is to take the older 2 kids and maybe give them something that they have to research or something that they can do, like, on their computers while I go over lessons with the 2 little ones. And then when they're working, I'll give them some computer time. They have their little leap pads with all these educational games. You guys can play that. Now I'm working with the big kids. And we're just going to have to alternate because I don't know how else to do it with all of these children.
Yeah. Now, I will say one of the things that I enjoy, so I think somebody posted on Facebook, and I was like, I'm glad I'm not the only one who knows about this lady. So when COVID-19, when Miss Monica, listen, Miss Monica is a savior. So if y'all don't know Miss Monica and you got young kids, Miss Monica, come on there.
It's great to watch as her.
Okay.
Oh, let me add her now.
Listen, Miss Monica live at 9 a.m. every Monday through Friday. And she come on there. She teaching weather. She teaching numbers. She teaching colors. I mean, legit. I don't know Miss Monica. Miss Monica probably would never see this, but let me tell you, Miss Monica, I'm so thankful for you because you were a lifesaver. And it's
What's the page?
It's on YouTube.
Miss,
it's on YouTube.
yeah,
Okay.
just type Miss Monica YouTube.
Is it Miss Monica's Circle Time or something?
That's probably it.
Okay.
Now,
it's amazing. I said we turn the TV on, and all my kids shut up and sit down. I'm like, I get hot coffee, uninterrupted.
I keep that.
Right.
Yes.
And the cool thing I like about it is that it provided something that was like, again, we just got thrown into this. It was like, hey, spring break's gonna be extended a week. Oh, don't worry about it. Kids not coming back for the rest of the year. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait, what's going on here? And so knowing Miss Monica, well, hey, what's up? Guest number 2. Knowing Miss Monica would come on at 9 a.m. every morning was something that, again, helped for my structure. So Miss Monica was a lifesaver. I hope during the summer we kind of fell off a little bit. And so I love. She's doing what?
Adventure camp.
Okay, so I love that. We do Miss Monica. What I did this morning with the kids is and that's for me, like, one of the things I'm trying to do is figure out, like, this is an opportunity to kind of take control of education and the educational process. And I went to seminary. Anybody who knows me knows that I love the Lord. The people at work probably are like, you always talk about Jesus, and I'm like, yeah. And so just how do I structure, like, I'm even thinking through how do I structure even their Bible learning time, because I thought, like, oh, it'd be cool because I'm working from home, like, this is my setup back here. I'm gonna be sad when I gotta go back to work and these 2 monitors, big screen monitors, gotta go. But this is a great opportunity for me to say, okay, in the morning, I'm gonna sit down with you guys and we're gonna go through, John, or we're gonna go through Bible stories, or we're gonna go through, like, I like math as well, and so we're gonna go through math, and I can take control, not take control, but I can contribute more. And I guess I could have always contributed, but now it's like, no, you, like, for real, you need to do something. And so I'm actually looking forward to it, because, like, for so long, I used to tell my I'm on the PTA, and I would say, honestly, I have no idea what my kid is doing at school. Like, I know he gets these packets for homework, and they have, like, the standards, and I don't know if y'all ever seen, like, standards, Florida standards, but I'm like, I don't know what that means. And I feel I'm kind of smart. I feel like I'm kind of smart. And so I'm like, if I'm struggling with this, then I imagine a lot of people are. And so I'm just excited because this allows me to do what I want with my kids. And now I'll report out to you like 2 days into it and let you know whether, like, you know what, this is a bad idea. But I'm excited for it. So I do want to get to, so we've been kind of talking, if you're just joining us, we're talking about homeschooling, and we've been working through, like, some of the practical aspects of homeschooling. But I actually want to get into this because I love my wife. And I know that it's going to be her who does most of the work around, like, the actual involvement in it. And that's probably true of most, it's usually the woman, the wife, who is leading this up. So I want to ask, since you all are women, like, what are ways that the spouse, the non primary spouse, I guess is the word I would use, can contribute meaningfully to this whole homeschooling experience?
I would say for me,
and this is your opportunity to tell your husbands, text them, and, like, hey, watch this. I'm about to give some clues on how you can help me out here, brother. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
For me and my wonderful husband, Chuck, 2 ways I rely on him is, like, he's my tag team. If we're working on a math lesson, and typically when we start a new lesson, it can be hard because my kids, they want to know the information right then and there, and it's like you have to learn it and give yourself patience. And when they might end up in tears or be really frustrated, and I just don't have the patience and the energy because I'm so tired, I'm like, yeah, let's put a pause for the cause. And hey, Chuck, can you come and work on this math lesson when you get home or whatnot? And then he'll come in, oh, because it's all novel to him. He's like, oh, yeah. Oh, I love it.
I can see Chuck doing that.
He's got the fresh perspective and the energy
right
to do this. And I'm like,
Can I
perfect.
call Chuck about math problems too?
Yes, call him, Sarah. You certainly can. So he definitely helps in that way where I could tag team him, and then he helps when, you know, I think another part is like I need some self-care time, and it's like, hey, here are your kids, and I'm gone. I'm gonna go to Target and just walk around. Try not to spend no money.
yes
Can't promise that.
please
but
don't
I'm gonna go get me a Starbucks or something, and then
that's spending money, by the way. Starbucks is spending money. Yeah,
okay.
Can't do Starbucks either. Walk, don't touch. You know what, you can touch, but don't put it in the basket. Just keep it.
I earned that Starbucks, so I don't have no qualms with it. So that's the two ways he helps in our homeschool.
That's good. We joke that my husband is the school mascot at our school. He is such a good man, and though the instruction primarily falls to me, he's the cheerleader who comes in when we're feeling tired of this,
Does
when
he
we
have
don't know what we're
pom-poms?
doing anymore, when we need some time off. He and my daughter are very much alike. And so while that particular combination would not work well for instruction, it works really well for encouragement. And so he does a really good job at affirming her, at affirming me. He also takes a large chunk of the housework, and makes sure that I'm not having to multitask necessarily. Lesson
I'm
planning
gonna cut
and
that part out.
laundry,
I'm gonna
and
cut
that
that part out. I'm not. No, cut that part out. I don't need Ashley. No, just kidding.
you don't need Ashley. No, this is wonderful. Ashley, you taking notes. So he's really helpful in that way around the house, so that I have both the physical space, in the cleaning home together, but also the mental space to focus on the kids and learning. And regularly he'll check in and say, how are you doing? Do you need to drive to the coast for the day? And he'll help me find the time that I need to make sure that my heart is refreshed. And we feel very fortunate too. Like, we live in close proximity to my parents, and so from time to time they're able to take one kid for the afternoon so I can have more focused time with the other. And that's been a real gift to us too. Also, being willing to say, this is not going well this week. Can you help me think about it differently? Because sometimes it's my perspective that's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing a terrible job at this. What were we thinking? And to have that sounding board to say, no, let's remember, this is our why. You are capable, and you can do this. You guys will make it.
So Cam is a cheerleader with pom poms and like a little. Does he wear the skirt too? Or no?
There's no uniform necessary.
Oh.
Like, his cheer is just extra.
Cool. I like it. Stacey, what about you?
For me, I'm just like, Nate, don't be late for dinner.
Love it. Listen, Ashley,
like,
talk to Stacey.
I'm like, don't be late because at 6:00 I'm done.
Oh,
like,
wait.
I'm not.
Oh wait. I got it. But never mind. Never mind. I see where you're going. Okay. I like it.
So usually dinner is ready at 6, and I'm like, we're sitting down, and I'm done. Like, you get them ready for bed. You do all of that. Like, I've been with them all day, and they're making me crazy. So it's your turn.
Yeah, I think that's only fair. I think I get kind of even being here. I get frustrated from my perspective because I am like at my computer here, but like our house is not big, okay, and so I mean if somebody sneezes on the opposite side, I hear it loud and clear, and so I can hear, and there is, I can hear what's going on. We've got, our kids are 7. This is the evens year, so they'll be 8, 6, 4, 2 by December 31st. And so, I get frustrated because I want to contribute more sometimes, and I'm like, oh, yeah, but I gotta finish this assignment real quick. So them kids just gonna have to they're just gonna have to be how they are.
Nate works in our guest room in the basement, and right outside of that room is where they have the bounce house.
Revenge.
So how do those conference calls work? Is he like, nah, I can't take the conference call here?
You.
All right, so here's so Cam says, "Bruh, I'm here." Like, I know you're here.
He's watching.
I'm just when she was talking about a cheerleader, a mental image came up of like, like Cam being a cheerleader, which is interesting. One of the final things I want to talk about, and this is something that I think, especially as working parents, and as people begin, because I think a lot of people, this is me just thinking, a lot of people will engage with homeschooling in this moment and realize that they kind of like it. But the problem is, you can't always choose everything you like. And so that's really the lead into, I mean, Sarah, you talked about you got an English degree. Stacey, you got your engineering degree. You were working for a bit, and then you came out of industry. Ebony, when we were sitting down in class at SBI, I'm sure your initial thought was, you know what I'm going to do for a significant portion of my life is serve my family through, being home. So, like, walk me through how the thought process goes from I am here and I'm going to let all of that go and be here. And you can feel free to just jump in because I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, for me, I'll say I think the wonderful, magnificent Mrs. Michelle Obama said, "You can't have it all, or you can have it all, but not all at the same time." Don't quote me on that, but it's something to that effect. Basically, you can have it all, but not all at one time. And so, I think it's important to recognize what season are you in. And for me, when I walked into, I don't even want to say walked, when I got dropped off into parenthood and was like, here, bam. Um, it was a, a, a realization like, okay, as this child grows and I'm caring for them, it's truly an investment that I'm looking and that I'm placing into my children. And so we're investing. If you're working for an outside company or an entity outside of your home, you're investing and they're paying you and you're making you're investing in that company in terms of with your time and your energy and your labor and everything. And so I wanted to focus this season on truly investing values, world perspective, time. I didn't think anybody else could love my kids and teach them the way that I could, because as parents, we have our own kids' best interests in mind. I would think. For me, I do have my kids' best interests in mind, and so I do look at it as seasons. And here's the thing: this is a really big thing that yes, I have an MBA, and yes, I was supposed to work for Ford Motor Company and come out of college making $86,000 as a 23-year-old. And I had to decline that offer and watch all of my wonderful classmates go to work for these corporate jobs. And because we were military, and then I started having kids and stayed at home as well. But my point being, I have happened to come upon another passion of mine, even in this, in a limited capacity. I have my own business now as a birth worker. So I teach childbirth education, and I'm a doula. It's something that I'm actually very passionate about, and it just organically sprouted. And so I know that during this season, yes, I'm at home with the kids. I have my own organic business that sprouted up. And now when they get ready to go on their mosey on and leave the house, I can fulfill and pursue this passion full time. And so it's kind of like the importance of seasons, I think.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you because I mean, when we were pregnant with our first child, when we, right? So we were pregnant.
Nope, you good.
um, provide some resources to Ashley, and it really kind of led us down a different trajectory, to the point where like, Ashley goes into like the hospital and literally just has the baby. Like there's no epidural, there's no like pitocin or anything like that. Just like, you know. And I remember the first time, because I've seen TV shows and people go into, usually TV shows, you're like they're about to die. And so I asked her, I said, "Hey, like, does it hurt?" And I think she's got to be odd because she was like, "Oh no, it's like, I mean, it hurts a little bit, but it's more like pressure than pain." And I was like, I don't know about that. I mean, you see that baby? That was an 8 pound. I see. I get bigger every baby. Every baby they get bigger, and so yes, I will affirm you in that role that you're playing because you have impacted, our lives in a positive way. So thank you very much. Um, Anybody else like Stacey? Tell me, about leaving the decision to leave engineering, something that you were in and you were good at, and to this.
So, engineering in school, engineering in corporate America are very different.
Okay.
I loved engineering in school. Corporate America and the politics and all of that, I hated it. Um, when I got pregnant with Maddie, like I knew there was no way that I was going to put her in daycare. So we pretty much decided at that point that I was going to stay home. And then 3 kids later, like I said, we were in private school and they did mom's morning out. But once we moved back to Cumming and the price of school was ridiculous, I was like, well, this is our other option. So I just kind of ended up here. I don't regret not leaving the engineering world. Like I said, I was miserable most days at my job. And I'm happy that we are in a financial position that I can stay home and we have a beautiful house and a beautiful neighborhood and my kids are happy and loved and here
awesome.
We are.
Great. Sarah, what about you?
I joke that I never had any aspirations, mostly because I didn't know myself well enough to know what would be fulfilling creatively or professionally. And I had vague ideas and hopes that I wanted to be married and have a family. And maybe I was good at teaching, but in what context was I good at teaching? And I dabbled in photography for a little while. I've always been a writer, as evidenced by the English degree. But because I didn't have a real strong view of a professional trajectory, I worked a series of odds and ends jobs before Cam and I were married. We were married 5 years before we adopted Cora, and when she came, it was like, oh, here it is. This is what I didn't know I was waiting to be part of, and I've long said that I think I've been so surprised by the delight of motherhood because I don't think I expected to dislike it in any way, but I've been surprised by how fulfilling it is for me. Now, along the way, one of the beautiful gifts has been I've discovered the ways that the things that do help me flourish creatively are also add to our family's income. So like I have a couple different part-time jobs, quarter time, some fraction of time, different creative endeavors that I participate in. So I do get to experience some personal and creative fulfillment in those ways, and I'm finding that that nourishes me, and it represents to my children, here's something that mommy loves and she works to find time to do it because it's important to her. And I like that I get to demonstrate that for my kids, that this is something that challenges me or allows me to grow too. So yeah, I think I've kind of, mine's more, Ebony said she's kind of dropped into motherhood, and I do feel kind of like that. Our adoption was like 6 weeks from the match to the birth of the baby, but actually both times it was like 6 weeks and then 2 weeks. And so my children arrived very quickly, and I think at any other in any other length of time, I would have maybe had time to think about it more or like test a few things out. But God saw fit to say, "Here we go, let's go." And so I feel like a lot of our endeavors have been like that as well. Me kind of feeling out, okay, how does this look like us? What's working for our family? And I am surprised and so thankful for how fulfilling and enriching that it's been for us to homeschool.
Awesome. So, ladies, thank y'all for this conversation. We're about to round up. I'm gonna do better than I did last. That first one, I was just, woo, yeah, we were just going. But I definitely appreciate you guys. I think I hope people who tuned in or perhaps watching the replay find something helpful in this. I know it is very daunting. Hold on. I messed up. Hold on. Hold on. I can do this.
I can do this.
All right. Let's do this. All right. So it's been helpful to me. I first of all just wait. There we go. Back in action. There we go. I was like, whoa, you messed up my seat. I had everything laid out and got to do better. No, I appreciate you guys. Like we as a family value you guys. I mean, each one of you all, we've, eaten together, broken bread together, been in your homes. Our kids are connected. And so I value you guys' opinion and what you have to say. What'd you say?
That my kids miss their cousins.
I know y'all need to come back on that. So I see this is what happened. This is how I go a little bit long. I was supposed to come up when we were in Atlanta. Ashley was like, "Hey, I'm going up to see the Hammonds," and I was like, "Okay, put it in the GPS." And I was like, "Oh, they live like in north Atlanta." Nah, I got other stuff I'm doing. I'm not gonna be able to make it up there. But yeah, I so appreciate you guys. I know that we can call on you all and whenever to provide some support and just encouragement for us along the way. And I hope that people on this call were able to be encouraged as well. So thank you. We'll be back August 4th, which is the first Tuesday of August, with a little conversation about travel, and I have some new friends on. So if you're watching, tune in. There'll be an announcement. Thank you so much, and